Welcome back to Arise Primetime. I'm Charles Adeniyi, and this is the point in the program that I introduce our guest analyst, who's here to give his perspective on nearly everything we've covered in the past 45 minutes or so on the program. And today, I'm joined here in the studio by the political affairs commentator, Arise News analyst, and head of mass communications at Bayes University in Abuja, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi. Great to see you, Prof.
Good evening, Charles.
And I noticed you were bobbing your head up and down when you heard the other Prof. Because, I mean, you're both professors, so we just sit and shake and tremble when you guys talk. What do you make of
sometimes these issues are not necessarily about it. I don't necessarily professorial.
No, but I think, I mean, your analysis is always welcome. And it would be good to get your sense of your assessment of what Kingsley Moghalu was saying, and the fact that he's saying he's hanging up his political boots, but moving in a different direction, basically.
Well, I think it's going to be very difficult to actually fault him, because he looks very much like a convinced person. Each time he talks, you are always gripped, because he looks very persuasive, very penetrating, and of course, with a sense of focus, And of course, he's a man at the top of his game, and he's seen it all literally and still primed to see some more things, So he's a multi-perspective person, a cross-disciplinary person who can fit into different cadres of life, different fields, and his contribution can come from different directions, no doubt. So ordinarily, you would have expected that with that kind of person, it would have been difficult for him to fit into our kind of politics, because our kind of politics is largely prebenda politics that is extremely flexible, sometimes bereft of principles. And if you're a man of high principles, that you subscribe to some values, some virtues, it will be very difficult to come into a space, where you'll be subjected to different kinds of
in that context,
experiences.
Yes, in that context.
But Charles, let me just come, But against that background as well, it's not bad for him to step aside, no doubt. And that's why we're saying that sometimes when appointments are going to be made, when you're going to constitute your government, it shouldn't just be based on rewarding people for loyalty alone. Merit should come in, and when merit is coming in there, you are thinking about technocrats. Somebody like Kingsley, for instance, can be one of the technocrats in government,
yes,
and of course, you don't find him wanting in that regard. When he contested in 2019, undoubtedly, he was one of the best in terms of ideation, in terms of intellection, in terms of confidence and purpose on what he probably wants to do, But just like he was frustrated in politics, I also just hope that he would not also be frustrated by the Nigerian system, because there are different ways in which the system itself can frustrate even the technocrat, the one that is coming from the position of merit.
Very interesting indeed. And what I was going to ask you was, I mean, he has said that he's quite happy to hang up his political boots. Having been through the flames when it comes to Nigerian politics. But do you detect that there might be a little bit of sadness there? Because he really came out, wanted to do something, and the system just wouldn't let him through.
No, I think it shouldn't be one of sadness, because sometimes when you are patriotic, when you are nationalistic, when you have a cause that you are fighting for, especially for when you are sacrificing yourself for the others, and when you find yourself in a position where you are no longer working for yourself, but you are working for your society, you come across frustrations, but you should elevate yourself above those frustrations and look at the bigger picture. At his level, I do not expect him to look at those frustrations, those distractions, but the bigger picture. And that's why, you find him relevant, you find him establishing, a policy institute. I saw their report, for instance, and it was very impressive.
The one on poverty.
Yes, I saw it, very impressive. The content, everything was quite interesting to read, and a good reference point. So I see him continuing on that pedestal. And if he's doing that, it means that he's not looking at himself or satisfying his immediate environment, of course, the larger society. And there's no way, if you look at the history of struggles, people who have been, at the forefront of struggling for the society often have a reason to continue the struggle, irrespective of the fact that they are fighting for people who are supposedly ignorant. But why they are ignorant, why the people are still ignorant, they still set themselves on fire, to provide light for the blind, represented in the society that is predominantly ignorant. You do not have to look at the state or the state of the people, how they react to you. Like he said, for instance, that even the voters frustrated him because right before him, they were probably going to the side of those who were ready with money. It can be very discouraging, but at some level, you do not have to look at, those nitpicking, those distracting kinds of behavior. Well, very unfortunate, but you have to stay strong.
Yes, absolutely. But he talked also about the fact, and he seemed rather proud of that he had helped to mobilize a lot of young people and raise their level of awareness in their sort of their demographic and the potential that they have. We once described him on one of the programs on Arise News as a sort of John the Baptist, running ahead of people like Peter Obi and Kwankwaso and all the rest of them, who helped to kind of prepare the way. Do you see him in that
I think
light?
I had him when he said so, and some people might mistake that for sounding off, or being slightly arrogant. But I'm not going to blame him, because I remember what Soludo said, that you do not apologize for excellence. So if he considers himself excellent and has somebody who has contributed to the evolution of Nigeria's democracy in the last 4 or 5 years, and of course he has defined the trajectory of his contribution, the gap that he came to fill, and that he has successfully filled it, I'm not going to cut him down in that regard, but to some extent you say again that yes, in 2019, for instance, he represented the other side, beyond the oligarchs, beyond the hegemons. He represented the other side, and of course, he inspired a lot of people. So if that inspiration has rubbed off on some newer generation of contestants this time around, well, it's there for us to see. It could be a matter of conjecture, but I'm not going to outrightly disagree with him as well, even though I would like us to put things in context for that.
Well, we've got about a minute and a half or so. Omorui Austin Aibe is an election analyst. He was the one who came, excuse me, second. He talked about the big issues that are facing Nigeria in this election, one of them violence, attacks on INEC facilities, vote buying and corruption, etc. Do you agree with him that those pose a seminal threat in this election?
Yeah, they are threatening, menacing, as the case could be, but the elections will hold. The elections will hold, I mean, we have seen war situations before. There's no excuse for the election not to hold. And I see machineries of state being deployed to ensure that we have an election. In 2019, it was worse. Boko Haram was threatening. 2015, there were even a prediction of apocalypse, but we went through it all the same. And of course, things are relatively peaceful now, irrespective of some of these violence, that we see happening. And of course, the fact that they are happening early enough is enough, looks good for the security agencies, to up their ante and find ways of nipping, if not nipping them in the bud, mitigating or even preventing them absolutely, completely, Charles.
Prof, I want to thank you, as always, very much indeed. Professor Abiodun is a political affairs commentator, Arise News analyst, and head of mass communications at Bayes University in Abuja. Thank you.
Thank you, always.
That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja and Washington. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.